What is up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Monoposto Driver Career Mode. Today we have episode number 84, which is taking place at the Italian Grand Prix in 2026. If you guys missed the previous episode that was taking place at the Belgian Grand Prix, then be sure to go and check that one out. That was a very good recovery drive on my standards. I'm going to spoil the result now. We started P8, lap 1, turn 1 collision incident, which wasn't my fault. I just got collected up in it. Meant I got sent to the back of the grid with front wing damage, and then I had to recover all the way up through the field and remarkably managed to get all the way back up to P8, my grid slot where I started, and I also get the bonus point for fastest lap. So that was a damage limitation drive, and thankfully, because neither Alonso or Ocon finished on the podium, it meant that I'm still very much in touch in the Drivers' Championship. So yeah, this is round 12 of the season. The previous race was a 35% race. We've only got one of those remaining at the Qatar Grand Prix, which is going to be in round 19, which is the penultimate race of the season. It's also worth saying that both Audi and McLaren have announced that they've brought upgrades to this weekend. In addition, Williams have also said they've had a minor tweak to their aerodynamic system of that car, which they're hoping will make them quicker on a straight line. So without further ado, let's see if any of these changes to these teams' cars has affected the starting grid. Lando Norris, for the second time this season, and for the first time since the opening round of the year actually, has managed to take pole at Monza from Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon. So we said Audi had brought some upgrades. Norris has certainly capitalised on that. Meanwhile, as for McLaren, Gasly P4, Piastri in P6. Russell's done very well to get the Mercedes into P5 as well. Sainz could only be down in P7, then Stroll and Schumacher, and then myself. I'm in P10. For some reason, I didn't have a particularly good lap. I think I was actually using too much downforce, so what I've actually tried to do is reduce it a little bit, so that hopefully, obviously, I can be quicker on the straight. I think I was just trying to make sure that I was losing less time through the Lesmos and not having too much wing on the car. So that's exactly what I've tried to do here in the race. I've gone back, I've altered my setup so that we can be quicker on a straight line. Let's see what we can do. So yeah, McLaren looking very quick. Russell, obviously the Mercedes, had a few upgrades. Albon a little bit further down the order, and Russell up in P5. So there's going to be a few teams scrapping over victory today as the 5 red lights are now out after what seemed like a very long hold, and we're underway at the Italian Grand Prix, starting alongside a Ferrari. It's been a good start actually for once. I can't remember the last time I said that. My tyres are actually a little bit cold, so going into turn 1 I'm hoping it's not going to be too embarrassing. Trying to brake nice and early, making sure that I really make the chicane. Albon goes clean around the outside. I think the AI on maximum difficulty are extremely OP through the first chicane. They can just, completely just mug me off. Although, look at this straight line speed we're gaining without really using any ERS. We absolutely fly past Alex Albon, and we've caught back up to Carlos Sainz once again. So now then, as we're going through this chicane at the end of the first sector, onto the ERS, a little bit of acceleration, we're pulling alongside the Spaniard. We're going to go for it up the inside of Lesmo 1. Sainz is still there, trying to leave a little bit of space for him on the outside. Through Lesmo 2 though, I am going to slam the door closed, and we have managed to get ourselves up into P8. So it has been a decent start. In the end, we have gained 2 positions overall compared to our net start position. Absolutely flying through the chicane at Ascari, and now look at this, the power, the straight line speed of this setup that we've had. It's not even a competition. Stroll, in arguably the best car, cannot compete with us. As I said, it's been very nip and tuck, very, very close between ourselves, Alpine and Aston Martin this season in terms of who has the best car. It's still unsure exactly who does have the best car. I think it might be us, because Fernando Alonso is obviously, been doing a lot better than Stroll, and Stroll hasn't been up consistently fighting at the front like Alonso, which suggests that Alonso is punching above his weight, but we have a safety car out of absolutely nothing. You can see I was talking, I was oblivious there's been an incident, and George Russell's out. And for the first time since the opening Grand Prix, we have the return of the safety car. Here's the replay. Russell's in the wall. You can see there's a tyre. It looks like Alonso was collected in the incident as well, which is now, he has a 5-second time penalty. I'm getting a feeling of deja vu. In the opening race of the season, Norris started on pole. We had not 1 but 2 safety cars, if I recall correctly, and George Russell was out of the race. How weird is that? Anyway, to be honest, I do wish there were more safety cars and sort of AI collisions or retirements, in this game, because I feel like this is the first retirement we've had since the opening race, and it's not kind of very realistic if all the AI finish every single race. It would be nice to see, 1 or 2 drivers not making it to the checkered flag in each race. Just it adds a little bit of extra realism if there's more collisions between the AI, or maybe even mechanical failures. I don't know if that could be a thing that could possibly be added to the game, but that would just be absolutely unbelievable if it was. Anyway, we're on to the end of lap number 4. The safety car is now ending. Obviously still on softs, they're still not worn, so we can continue to go. So it's certainly going to be a one-stop soft to medium today, and I'm going to keep an eye on the guys in front in terms of whether we need to go for an overcut or an undercut. I decided not to pit under the safety car because I thought these tyres are still fresh, and there's no guarantee that, you know, we'd be able to get to the end on a set of mediums from here. Obviously the tyre wear's a lot better, but I thought better not take the risk. Better still try and strike while the iron is hot, while they have fresh tyres up the inside of Piastri, but I leave him way too much room and go far too deep into the chicane. You can see Piastri is just absolutely miles ahead, over a second already, and now here comes Lance Stroll. I've come off the battery, it looks like the Aston Martin's using plenty of his, and the Canadian flies past, and that's not even a competition, and he gets back up into P6. So still got work to do, although look at this, get absolutely superb exit through there. I think Stroll went over the chicane, lost all the momentum, and we can retake that place immediately. Next up on the road, Fernando Alonso has been passed by Oscar Piastri already. Note the Spanish driver with a 5-second time penalty, although we're going to wait to see if we can try and get the move done on him out of the final corner, powering down the pit straight. You can see the straight line speed, it's just no competition. Almost the fastest lap of the race there for me, 2 purple sectors, and it's going to be a drag race versus the Aston Martin all the way down towards the first corner. We've got the 2 McLarens in front. Gasly also has a 5-second penalty up the inside of Fernando Alonso. I'm going to try and be a bit more aggressive with him, as of course he is my championship rival, although as we get on the power, Fernando Alonso has indeed been left for dust. Although now he seems to be all over the back of me. My tyres have kind of hit the drop-off point here, but look at the gaining speed on Piastri. That's just DRS and my setup. We're going up the inside of Ascari. That's a really nice move there. We just seem to be gaining so much at the back end of that straight, and so I decided to go for the move. Very nicely done, up into P4, although I mentioned my tyres have hit the drop-off point as they've gone onto the orange setting, so I'm in fact going to make a pit stop at the end of this lap. I'm going to box opposite to the AI. If no one else is coming in, I'm going to bite the bullet, go for an undercut. Hopefully we'll have some fresher tyres to begin with to try and attack the guys at the front. We'll have more worn tyres at the end, but the idea is if we can be super quick on the opening couple of laps, we might be able to gain some positions, make our way up the order, and hopefully build out a gap that we should be able to hopefully try and defend by the end of the Grand Prix. Not expecting much though, so in we come onto the medium compound tyres, and we will be going to the end of the race. 74 degrees, so we will need some decent tyre warming to be occurring in the next couple of laps. Out in P20, Russell out of the race, and Sainz down in P21. I think he must have been involved in some sort of collision, maybe with Gasly, why he got his penalty, because Sainz has had to make a pit stop and he's miles behind everyone else. Anyway, on the next lap, Alonso pitted, and we're miles ahead of him, and by miles I mean 3 seconds. So this undercut has worked so well so far. That's the full performance of Dennis Hauger. We're going to go past the Norwegian up the inside into Lesmo 1, and this is Max Verstappen fighting the car. I think the Dutchman has got a puncture on those hards, which is really surprising because it's only lap 8. It shouldn't be due to tyre wear. Yep, look how slowly Verstappen's going through there. I'd say the Dutchman has a puncture, which is such a shame for him, so he's going to be all the way down at the back end of the grid as well. Note that Russell has a penalty, Leclerc has a penalty. There's a few penalties being dished out, although that was Lando Norris, who is the net race leader, and we have come out in front of him after we've made our pit stop. So I mentioned I wasn't expecting miracles from our undercut, and all of a sudden it looks like we might have thrown ourselves into contention for the win here. Although here comes Fernando Alonso. He's trying to go all the way around the outside as we're heading down towards the end of the first sector split. Norris is trying to put me under pressure as well. We're all onto medium compound tyres, trying to go to the end of the race. Going to hang it round the outside there. Slam the door closed on the Aston Martin, who's still there, trying to go all the way around the outside. This is fabulous racing. We're going wheel to wheel. Although I think Fernando finally gets the message that he's going to have to back out of that and wait to the DRS zone. Although I'm going to get DRS thankfully, so I should be able to try and defend. A little bit of battery left to use as well. Jake Hughes in the Williams having a decent Grand Prix so far. Not sure he's made a decent pit stop yet though, and it looks like further back is Lando Norris going for the move on Fernando Alonso. I think he might have done, Felipe Drugovich, the next corner for me to overtake as we exit the final corner. I've had a parabolica. That was it. I was about to say I've had a complete memory blank and for some silly reason forgotten the name of the corner. It's the Parabolica, of course, how could I forget? Anyway, breezing past Yuki Tsunoda like he's not even there. The Red Bull driver started from the back as he didn't make a pit stop at the previous Grand Prix, so obviously that requires a grid penalty for this race. That was a simple move with DRS only, and Tsunoda's still on those mediums. He has not yet made a pit stop. Speaking of which, Nick de Vries in the other Ford Performance car hasn't made a pit stop yet. I believe he started on mediums, although even with DRS and DRS, the Ford Performance can't match the straight line speed of the Alpine, plus my golden Monza setup. I did think about going for the move on Albon, but I saw how quickly that door was closing, so decided to, play it safe and wait, and Albon actually pitted at the end of that lap. Speaking of pitting at the end of the lap, in goes Schumacher and in goes Gasly, and what do you know, 2 laps to the end and we're leading the Italian Grand Prix by 2 seconds. 3 seconds, and not only that, it's a 1-2. Ocon's done a great job to get himself into P2, but I completely outbroke myself there, gave away loads of time. That's not ideal. Maybe the tyres are starting to go, I've no idea, but I just for some reason completely missed my braking point then. As we are now on to the final lap of the race, it's no longer a 1-2 for Alpine. Norris has got ahead of Ocon, although I think those guys are battling as we go through Ascari for the 13th and the final time. And I tell you what, this has come as a very welcome surprise. We started from P10, almost struggled in qualifying, made some adjustments to the setup, absolutely nailed the strategy, and we're going to get our reward here as we're coming through Parabolica for the last time in the Italian Grand Prix, and this is going to be our 3rd win of the season and the 7th of my career. And not only that, as Ocon's got ahead of Norris, it's an Alpine 1-2, but we win the Italian Grand Prix from 10th on the grid. That's a fantastic drive and throws us right back into contention in the World Drivers' Championship. As I mentioned, a 1-2 for the team. Not only that, Alonso with a penalty, I think, is down in P6. Stroll's only going to end up something like P8. So we're going to gain, again, tons of points on Aston Martin this weekend. And dare I say, we put one hand on the constructors already. Because of how consistent we've both been, Aston Martin may struggle to overhaul this deficit, and I'm sure they'll look back on this as a crucial race in which they lost points and potentially lost out in the Constructors' Championship. Maybe I'm getting carried away with 8 races still to go. There's still a lot that can happen in the remainder of this season. I did momentarily set the fastest lap on the final lap though. That was taken away first by Ocon and then by Pierre Gasly. And in the end we emerged victorious with a winning margin of 2.1 seconds. As I said, the wins generally this season have been very close. The biggest one I can think of, to be honest, is Ocon at Hungary. I can't remember how much that ended up being exactly, but my teammates showed some scarily quick pace at the end of that one. Anyway, we're just watching the final drivers come in at the end of this one. Verstappen, obviously very unlucky with the puncture, ended up P20. Sainz, I think, got collected in an incident earlier on in the Grand Prix. I suspect that could well be what led to Gasly's penalty, because we know obviously that Alonso's penalty came from the incident with Russell, because we saw them both sort of off the road at turn 1. And there's your podium for the Italian Grand Prix. How good does it feel? How good does it look to see 2 Alpines occupying the top 2 steps of the podium? We're looking really strong in the constructors, really consistent. We've got a super quick car. However, the next race is the exact opposite to this one, as we're going back to Singapore, a race that I'm very much looking forward to actually. I seem to remember it not going particularly well for us last year, so I'm keen to make amends. However, obviously being a tight, narrow street circuit, maximum downforce, limited overtaking, it's basically the exact opposite of the race that we've done today. So we'll see how that's going to turn out. Maybe we'll see some more midfield teams coming to the front, who knows. I think a similar thing like that happened at Monaco, that happened at Austria as well, so who knows. It's such a close grid, anything can happen. And as I said, with upgrades such as those provided by Audi, McLaren had a fantastic weekend here today, their best of the season. You know, it really is close. It really is any team really that can play for points and podiums. It's so entertaining for the neutral fans to watch, and even Haas getting points on the board as well with the Rubulet. There's the Drivers' Championship standings. However, Ocon's still the leader. I'm back into P2, only 5 points behind. Alonso in P3, only a further 4 points behind me. Lance Stroll, though, now 64 points off the lead at the Drivers' Championship, so I would almost go as far as saying already out of contention, and it really is just a 3-horse race. In fact, he's under pressure now from Norris, Sainz and Gasly. But that's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed. Please be sure to like, share and subscribe. Remember, you can follow me on Instagram or join my Discord. Both links are in the description below, and I'll see you guys all next time. Goodbye.